High temperatures, wildfire smoke and drought. The politics of climate change in one California congressional district. The summer temperatures are consistently higher than they used to be. The smoke from nearby wildfires fills the sky, obscuring the sun and speckling his mandarin trees with delicate ash. And, most concerning, the water he needs to run his 150-acre farm has become so scarce that Carranza, the son of farm workers in California's Central Valley who grew up picking and pruning every weekend, is worried about encouraging his own children to take over the farm he and his brothers founded 2 decades ago. That uncertainty of the water situation, it's like you can't feel that happy about them trying to come back to the family business, said Carranza, who considered selling his farm during the last drought in 2014 and 2015. And that is a bad feeling. He added, there's probably 4 or 5 different things that could kill our business. But if we have water, we can work on the others. If you don't have water, these trees will die.
Here in America's so-called fruit basket, where roughly 1/4 of the nation's food is produced, drought is everywhere. Rivers have turned into nothing but sandy lines on maps, countless irrigation canals are parched, and so much water has been pulled from underground aquifers that the ground in some areas is physically sinking. According to the U.S. Drought Monitor, much of the Central Valley has reached exceptional drought levels, the group's highest intensity. Valladolid laughed when asked about the fact that he is seen as one of the most vulnerable Republicans in the country. His decision to vote in favor of impeaching Trump earlier this year, making him just one of 10 Republicans in the House to do so, drew the ire of the right and won cheers from the left. A Republican rancher is now challenging Valladolid almost entirely on that vote, with rumors of other Republicans planning to get in the race. A slew of Democrats, many of whom applauded his impeachment decision, have also lined up to knock off the Republican congressman, citing his record on a host of issues, including climate change. We've always had drier years and wetter years. Do I think that there's a possibility that it plays a role? I'm sure that the climate changing is going to play a role in the long term, he asked. What can we do to fix that? Talk is cheap. Democrats and Republicans throughout the Central Valley agree that water is likely the most pressing issue there. It's how to address the issue that splits the parties. Valladolid has primarily focused on how to mitigate the water issues, stressing the need to renew the Water Infrastructure Improvements for the Nation Act, a bill that looks to address water issues and spend the needed money to increase storage of surface water. He, like many of his Republican colleagues in the district, also blames strict environmental policies regulating endangered fish in the California Delta for part of the water issues. A lot of us see a lot of hypocrisy on the issue, Valladolid said. He pointed to San Francisco getting most of its water from the Hetch Hetchy Reservoir, but environmental activists, primarily those who live in the Bay Area, castigate any plans for more water storage to benefit the Central Valley. They live in a totally different world, and they're doing exactly what we're trying to do for ourselves. And many in his district aren't hiding their disdain for a water policy that benefits cities. Farmers are desperate for more water storage, and large signs along highways in the Central Valley rage against what they see as a lack of action by the federal and state governments. Some are overtly political, like one that borrows from Trump's Make America Great Again slogan, build more dams, stop man-made droughts. Valladolid attempted to get more amendments dealing with water into the infrastructure bill currently being debated in Congress. The current bill has somewhere around $40 billion for water infrastructure, Valladolid said. It's never enough, he said, and hasn't decided to yet on whether to support it on final passage. There's no such thing as a silver bullet, he added, but said the 2 things that could be done is smarter policy on the way we manage our water with our current infrastructure, and then growing the infrastructure. Those 2 are the easiest solutions. The legislation put in place by the current Republican incumbent doesn't address climate change, said Laura, a Bakersfield native whose mother was a farm worker. In order to have stability, that root cause of climate change needs to be addressed. Talk is cheap. The legislation hasn't gone anywhere. It's stagnant. The impacts in California have been dramatic. Reservoirs across the state are perilously low, threatening the hydroelectric energy that flows directly to the state's major cities and the surface water that can be used by farmers. In August, regulators with the board that oversees water allocations in California voted to halt diversions from the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta, a major step that will directly impact those using water for agriculture. California Governor Gavin Newsom has asked residents to cut their water usage by 15% in response to the drought. Because drought is gripping much of the western United States, these issues are far from unique to just California, with water authorities across the country having to take action to protect delicate watersheds. The most significant came in August when the federal government declared a water shortage on the Colorado River for the first time, triggering mandatory water consumption cuts for states in the Southwest. Osorio described an environment where even the slightest shift in water scarcity impacts every person in the community, from the farmer who may have to switch crops to the farm worker whose well may become contaminated to the city officials who worry about the economic impact and the stability of their own municipal wells. All of this, he said, stems back to climate change. On the issue of water and drought, it is very important to acknowledge climate change, and I don't think Valada has done a very good job in doing that, he said. We have to mitigate the impacts of the drought, but we also have to look at what is causing the drought. This starts with acknowledging the impacts of climate change. Two California scientists who have studied the climate impacts on farm workers in the Central Valley have found complex reactions. J. Pablo Ortiz Partida, a scientist with the Union of Concerned Scientists, and Angel S. Fernandez Boom, a researcher at the University of California, Merced, found in their work that while water concerns are pressing, many feel air quality and heat are equally concerning.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.